Are you psychologically strong enough to have a relationship with passion that lasts? Are you able to create a kind of connection that will keep firing for years? For many people, this sounds to be a far of my bed show. Why? Because they have created a kind of connection that is so disconnected from who they truly are that they do not feel loved and do not feel wanted. What do I mean? Well, most people have the idea of what Dr. David Snarch calls other validated intimacy, in which you express something about yourself and you have expectations. You expect your partner to understand you. You expect your partner to reciprocate. You expect your partner to validate who you are and that you are worthwhile. The problem with this kind of thinking is that the more important your partner becomes to you, the more threatening it will feel to really disclose who you are truly, with all your negative quirks, with all your personal limits. What will happen inevitably is that those two partners will start to compromise themselves, will start to edit themselves, to instead of self-disclose, they start to self-present. And so what happens is that on the surface in the beginning it feels good because we have so much similarities, and those things that divide us, they are complementary, fantastic. But then when you are starting to progress, you will start to lose that connection. You will start to lose that desire for each other. Why? Well, because most people think about intimacy like this. I want you to imagine that you are wine and your partner is beer. And you meet each other, you feel attracted, and you start to build the relationship. And so what happens very often is I do some beer with my wine, she or he does some wine with her beer, and you keep on going until you come to a point where if you put a little bit more beer with your wine, you will become beer. In other words, you come to a gridlock. A moment where you feel gridlocked, a moment where you feel you're on a crossroads between choosing to connect with yourself or choosing to sacrifice yourself for the relationship, which is horrible. And so what very often happens, when you get to this gridlock, three things happen. The first thing that you can do is you can just stay there, feeling both unsatisfied, and try to distract yourself with cheating, try to distract yourself with alcoholism, with drugs, with workaholism. That is not very exciting. And then when you look around, this happens more often than not. Sad. Why? Because they need each other. They know when they will be apart, they will be ripped apart, they will feel destroyed. But while being in it, they choose to stay into discomfort. The second option is that you rip apart and you go find somebody else to do exactly the same pattern with, and you will get back into the same pattern. You will also, with your new partner, lose the attraction. The same pattern. You will also, with your new partner, lose the attraction. But then we have the third option. The third option is where we're here, we need each other, and at a certain moment we start to confront ourselves. We start to validate ourselves. We start to stop needing our partner, and that is scary because if one person goes up, the other one will lose his grounding and has no choice but or to look for somebody else or to start standing on their own 2 feet again. Now what happens when you stand on your own 2 feet? Well, first of all, it is anxiety provoking because when your partner does not need you to validate themselves, they can walk away. This creates a beautiful paradox because when you're here, when you need each other, you cannot want each other. Then it's not your choice. You cannot feel desired. And this will take away all the passion. But when you create this space again, there's a space in between you that you can bridge, that you want to bridge. This is a place where the fire of desire starts to grow again. And then it can become like a pulsation where you come closer to each other and closer to yourself. And in this moment, things become fantastic. But I will promise you, to get to this moment where you are not codependent, where you are interdependent, where you choose each other, and when you do something to make your partner feel good, it's a conscious choice. It's not because you feel forced to it. It's not because you feel you have no choice. No, you know you have a choice, and it is with your love, with your attention, with your presence that you choose to do that or choose not to do that. This is what is called self-validate intimacy, where you replace self-presentation, you take off your mask and you start to create self-disclosure. And self-disclosure doesn't hold the same expectations. It comes down to saying, I want this or I don't want this, regardless of how your partner reacts. You don't expect them to reciprocate your thing. You don't expect them to validate your experience, to validate your way of being. So I will explain this with an example because it's a bit abstract, so I'll explain it with an example. I want you to imagine that yesterday you had the most sensual, powerful, intimate experience with your partner. You had love making, whereby literally for you everything else disappeared. The entire universe started to revolve around the love and the passion between you two. And next morning you're drinking your coffee and you say to your darling, oh baby, yesterday was so unique, so passionate. It must have been my best sexual experience ever. And then imagine your partner's like, what do you mean? I was thinking about doing dishes, about everything I have to do in the house. How would that impact you? If you would be like most people, it would pull the rug out of you. You will fall flat on your ass, and all of a sudden, your experience of intimacy, your personal experience, is seen as not true. No, because the other's validation is the thing that is needed to validate your personal experience. And so you make the other person's experience much more valuable than your own. No. Imagine that you would just accept it. For you it was different. What can I do to pull you deeper into the connection with me next time? Can you imagine how much different that would be? How much different it would be that you don't need your partner to validate your experience, but that you validate your experience because it's true. And then when you connect, then when your partner chooses you, then when your partner really reciprocates, then becomes true. Because when you're able to hear no without being pulled out of your own well-being, then the yes will become even more powerful. Then you know when your partner is able to say no to you without you going crazy, then you know when they say yes, they want to say yes. And that creates the most passionate, intimate relationships ever. Now, this is not very easy to do. You need a lot of psychological strength to handle the intensity that goes with that. And if you want to learn how, then contact me and let's get you ready for real passion.